Welcome to UK House, the home of creativity. Next up is a company that is always very popular, and that is Digital Detox. Digital Detox are a humanity-led digital product agency. They specialize in design, full-stack development, startup tech partnerships, and digital transformation. Everything they do revolves around people, the planet, and technology. As the pressure for environmental responsibility mounts, digital technologies have the power to transform your business and in turn protect the planet. But whilst new might be shiny, sometimes the old can have an impact too. I'm delighted to welcome Charlotte Walsh, co-founder of Digital Detox, to UK House to discuss how digital transformation will create a more sustainable world. Once again, this is a live session, so please do submit your questions via the Slido chat to the right of the main stage. Welcome, Charlotte.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, we're delighted to have you. I'm going to hand straight over to you for your presentation.
Thank you. Well, hi, everybody. As Aisling mentioned, I'm Charlotte Walsh. I'm a digital strategist by background. In my role, I'm often the bridge between the user, the needs of the business, and getting an application or website built, so connecting with design and engineering teams. I have a background in business and the sciences, and I've spent the last 20 years designing digital experiences and running digital teams. I'm one of the founders of Digital Detox. It's a humanity-led technology agency, and we really do put web technology to use with solving problems facing people and the planet. And we really do like to focus our products and the things that we build. We focus on sustainability, putting our applications and the environment in mind. So even though our attention is on the COVID-19 pandemic right now, the issue of climate change hasn't gone away. It is still one of the most critical global challenges facing humanity right now. Now, we know about the Australian wildfires, where 16 million acres of land were on fire and over 1 billion animals were killed. And we become accustomed to the news of flooding around the world. And we've seen record temperatures in the Antarctic. And really, what we do now and in the next few years to come will profoundly affect the next few thousand years to come. We have 10 years to avert a climate crisis. So this is known as the decade of action, and it is time that we all acted now. So we know about the aviation industry and the impact it has on CO2 and greenhouse gas emissions. Aviation accounts for 2% of all human-induced CO2 emissions. That's 915 million tons of carbon from flights last year. But what about digital? Well, I'm sure it's no surprise to you that digital's carbon footprint is huge and it's growing. Now, when you turn on your laptop or you open up your mobile phone, you don't see smoke and pollution coming out of any holes. But smoke and pollution is happening somewhere. And the question is, can we as designers and developers and organizations as a whole do more for the environment in the digital space? If the internet was a country, it would be the 6th largest polluter. It's a little known fact that the internet CO2 emissions have surpassed the aviation industries. So let's have a look at some of the things that we do every day on the internet. Carbon dioxide is emitted every time we perform a search. It's about 0.2 grams of CO2, and it can, for one search, and it can actually be up to 7 grams, which is actually the same amount of energy used to boil a kettle. There are 63,000 Google searches per second, and that equates to about 1,000 tons of carbon a day. And we need about 500,000 acres of mature forest to absorb that amount every year, just for Google searches. What about emails? Well, emails on average have a carbon footprint of 4 grams of carbon dioxide and up to 50 grams with a heavy attachment. So think about the thousands of unwanted emails that we get every day, or that as an organization that we send, and think about how many people we're including in an email chain when we're replying all. OVO Energy noted that if every Brit, 68 million people, sent one less thank you email a day, it would save 16,000 tons of carbon And that's equivalent to 81,000 flights from London to Madrid. So, when using an internet page, where does all this energy usage come from? Well, data centers use about 30% when preparing and storing data. Networks use about 30% as well when sending and retrieving data. And devices use about 40% when presenting and viewing data. The average internet page is roughly 2 megabytes in page weight, and video and images do make up a lot of that. And on average, there are 76 data requests per page. Data centers consume about 2% of the world's electricity, and that's expected to be 8% by 2030. And according to research from Hewlett-Packard, only 6% of data ever created is in use today. So that means that 94% of data is sitting in a vast cyber landfill that's going to keep on growing. And in other words, it's going to be costing us the equivalent of maintaining the airline industry for data that we don't even use. By 2025, it's estimated that 60% of the world's population is going to be connected to the internet, and that each connected person will have almost 5,000 digital interactions a day. That's 1 every 17 seconds. Now, new technology isn't going to go away. We know that, and we're not advocating that. But modern digital trends are increasing the demand on energy to power our habits. And more products are moving online. And this can have a positive impact on the environment. But we need to be making those applications and services as energy efficient as possible. And that's not often a considered aspect in an organization's sustainability plan. So fresh thinking is required from organizations who have the power and the responsibility to make a difference. So according to the World Economic Forum, digital tech can really be a force for good. It can help reduce emissions by as much as 15% in industries such as energy, building, and transport. And new technologies such as 5G will also provide energy efficiencies. We believe that we should be designing and building digital applications and services with the environment in mind. It's really about building things smarter and lighter. So what can your organizations do to make your digital estate, your data centers, your applications and websites more energy efficient? Well, firstly, we think it's really important to be educating digital teams to be thinking about sustainability when they're designing, building, and maintaining digital products and services. They need to know what the key decision points are and what the impact their choices have. You obviously can't manage what you don't measure. And you need to be measuring and analysing key aspects of your digital products and services like page weight and like data requests. So we should know what good looks like from an environmental point of view, and then be able to compare and contrast against industry norms and best practice. And then, of course, we also need to be tracking improvements to make sure that things are improving. Designers and developers need to be making decisions that affect page weight, file sizes, network traffic, data storage. Images and videos are a key contributor to page weight, and there are ways to reduce file sizes and hence page weight. Video streaming is a big contributor to energy usage on the internet, and we can make savings here too. Downloading is far more energy efficient than streaming, for example. But if we are streaming, the audio file is often streamed, but hidden in the background. It's just the video file that's being shown. But you could actually only start streaming the audio when it's actually selected rather than just hiding it. So developers should be streamlining their code, looking out for ways to be thinking about the environment, looking out for heavy embeds, using the cache, and reducing calls to databases. We think within an organisation, a good first step is to create environmentally focused, non-functional requirements. So we need to make these standards known across the organisation through training and workshops. And the good news is that these environmental standards are closely linked to performance, so it makes absolute sense. And we need to make these standards and practices part of our everyday working life in digital teams. We should be using performance testing tools like Google Lighthouse, and we should be testing and learning and understanding the impact of the different design and development decisions that we're making. It's important to promote an internal culture that supports sustainable development. We need to be increasing the awareness through training and workshops internally, and we need to be communicating the organisation's commitment to climate change. We should be normalising this behaviour that supports sustainable development. And we should be publishing data internally, possibly even gamifying it, and of course celebrating successes and wins when we're doing a great job. I think top-down buy-in is really, really important. It helps that leaders in the organisation are visibly and vocally supporting the sustainability agenda, and it helps that leadership is buying into the cause. And of course, customers are increasingly demanding sustainable products and services. And that move from physical products to digital products will be happening. So we use energy ratings on appliances or when buying a house. Customers are switching to green energy firms for their home or business electricity. And in fact, energy ratings for apps and hosting providers is already here. And some customers, of course, are already choosing according to this. I know at Digital Detox, we certainly are. And it may not be long before adding an energy rating to your website is expected, if not mandated. It could even affect your Google ranking. And I believe it is affecting your Ecosia ranking if you're using that search engine. So employees are also looking to work with companies who care about the environment. So too are investors. These people can also choose with their feet, just in the same way that your customers can. So in other words, we're moving from a state where climate change initiatives within an organisation are seen as an expectation by customers, employees and investors, rather than just a differentiator. And it's likely that it will move more towards an obligation as governments who have pledged to reach net zero need us all to be helping to achieve those targets. I think it boils down to this. We need to change behaviour at a company, at a team, and at an individual level. We need to be thinking about an organisation's digital carbon footprint and non-digital aspects of a business and look where we could be making a difference. And we can all be making an impact. Of course, it helps that leadership is visibly and vocally supporting sustainable development. But you as an individual can make an impact too. So think about those emails and the heavy attachments that you send, and send links instead. Think about the data that you as an organisation or you personally store and how you store it. And we should be powering down our devices and servers when we're not using them. If there's one takeaway that I think would be useful today is to think lighter. Think about the design, development and DevOps choices where you can make a difference and start something in your organisation if it hasn't started already. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. Fascinating as always. It always makes me think about how many electronic things I've done over the week. A question that's always very popular, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Like I think we've had this discussion before, but the move to virtual over the last year and a half. Do we know anything about the effect of where it's using, such as Teams, Google Hangouts? Is there any data around any of that yet, and the effect it's having on the environment?
Well, we personally, as an organisation, reduced our carbon footprint by 50%, and that is from not travelling to places, going to meetings, or the team coming into our creative studio and home every day, as well as a number of other means. So we can't beat digital up too much. As I mentioned, there are really positive moves for the environment for moving to digital. So if we take transport, for example, we've been working on with a client in Norway and another one in another centre in Europe. And and we'd be flying otherwise normally, and we haven't been. And so there are significant savings and that we can be achieving by going digital. We just need to be making our applications and sites as energy efficient as possible, and it's something that people and organisations may not have been really too aware of. They've been thinking about paper usage and using more energy efficient lighting, but this is another aspect that can make a big difference.
And you mentioned the ranking for websites, and I know it's available on another server. I mean, how long do you think it is before we can expect to see things like that on Google? So, i.e., if anyone's in the audience, this is something they should be thinking about tomorrow or put onto their board agenda for the next month?
It pays to start thinking and acting now, because and be ahead of the curve. It only takes Google to change their algorithm, and your rankings can go down. And that's exactly what it looks like UKAEG is doing at the moment.
So I guess we can all just lead the change that we want to see in this case.
Absolutely. There's a handy website called websitecarbon.com if you wanted to have a look at a web page, whether it's your website or a website that you use, and it shows the digital carbon footprint of that page. Quite a handy tool. Have a look at that.
I think that's definitely something that I'll go and have a look at as well, because it's just a good tool to know where to start, because I think that's the thing, you all want to make a difference, but actually knowing where you can start is fantastic. We have run out of time, because I know that I've got loads of questions that I always want to ask. If you want to follow up with Charlotte, you can do so via the Hop-in People tab. We've also put the LinkedIn details in the chat. We're going to take a very short break, but don't go too far, as coming up we're going to hear from the Young Lions design winners. See you soon.